Hello and welcome to the Joy Journey podcast. I am Jillian Schecker, and today I can't wait to introduce you to one of my favorite people. She's an absolute inspiration, Dr. Kara Otuomagie, founder of Kinetic Living, a multidisciplinary health facility in the heart of Edmonton. Kara is an absolute inspiration. And on this episode today, we share about how we met, which was many years ago. And then we've kind of come back into each other's field recently. Kara dives into, why she created Kinetic, the clinic, and how she completed an Ironman competition. Okay. She's an absolute badass. And how she gained self-confidence on her journey, as well as what it looks like to truly love yourself. I love the way she just opens up and shares all of it today. We also talk about what happens when you can no longer do the things that bring you joy, and what does it mean to do literally, physically less and actually be more. We talk about how to move through the ick that life presents all of us at some point or another, and so much more. Stay tuned for this inspiring convo with one of my favorite people. As always, grab your favorite coffee or tea and sit down. Enjoy the ride. Hey there, it's Jillian, your guide to all things joy, and this is the Joy Journey podcast. Hello and welcome to the Joy Journey podcast. I'm your host, Jillian Schecker, and today I'm so excited to introduce you to my guest, one of my fave people, Dr. Kara.
Hello.
So before we dive in, I just want to take a moment to introduce Dr. Kara Otuomagie. Dr. Kara is the founder and owner of Kinetic Living, a multidisciplinary health facility in the heart of Edmonton, Alberta, which I highly recommend going to for all of your wellness needs. As an active member of her fitness community and as a chiropractor who works with athletes, she assists people in achieving their personal and professional goals. And she's an absolute beam of light. She, to me, is the epitome of generosity. She has such a huge heart. She's absolutely helped me on my own wellness journey, and she's an inspiration to us all. So I can't wait to share more with you about Dr. Kara. Welcome, Kara.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me today.
I want to know about your journey. I mean, it's called the Joy Journey podcast. I want to know what made you choose chiro.
Yeah, I love that idea. I feel like journeys are windows into the soul.
Yeah.
My journeys, everyone has a unique journey, and I always feel like my journey is different, but we all have these unique lived experiences that allow us to navigate the world at certain paces.
Yes.
Throughout my life, I've always lived at a very fast pace. And for anyone that knows me, the busyness of my schedule is definitely reflective of that. Yeah. But I more recently have been really trying to embrace calm and trying to embrace being present and trying to embrace not feeling the need to constantly define my worth and who I am by the things that I do. And that's challenging because I think a lot of times in life, we're meant, in this world and the culture that we live in, we're meant to sort of define ourselves by, okay, well, I provide this to the world.
Yeah.
And, there's something special in just being. So for me, my journey started, on a cold day on February 3rd.
Best day ever.
Best day ever. And I was born to young parents who were still in school, and the idea of independence happened very young as well. And it happened out of need. Right? Anything from caring for my two younger sisters to having to grow up right away with responsibilities that the average, probably, I'll say, maybe 8-year-old, 10-year-old didn't have. Right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I learned so much from those experiences in my childhood, and they've made me who I am today. But definitely defining moments, for sure.
Yeah. So you're the oldest of the three?
I am the oldest. Yeah.
Okay. So
two younger sisters.
Kind of thrown into a bit of a caretaking role. Yeah. It feels like, do you feel like this is maybe where, because I sense you're very soulfully led. It's really about service for you. And maybe that's where it kind of started, was focusing, on others, making sure that everyone around you is okay.
Absolutely. Well, that's a great thing. They can definitely not be a great thing because you end up sacrificing yourself a lot.
Yeah.
And so I've really had to redefine what being in service of others looks like.
Yeah.
Because when you start to put the needs of others before yourself, and everyone always talks about the airplane reference with the mask, but there are moments where you actually do need to act quickly
Yeah.
and help someone in a time of need. And so if we could do them at the same time, like the mask can help, that would be amazing, but it's just not feasible. So
Yeah. Okay. I love that. So tell us about your journey in terms of like what led you to chiropractor,
yeah, so
chiropractorhood.
chiropractor to be a chiropractor, doctor of chiropractic. Yeah. So I always knew I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to be in healthcare to some regard. And I found myself unfortunately injured. And I had this knee injury, and I was playing basketball at U of A. I was in my third year, and of all things, it was intramurals. It wasn't a high stakes game or anything like that. I was having fun with my girlfriends on an intramural league game, and unfortunately, I twisted wrong.
Mm.
And there were moments that day that I kind of look back on and reflect in. And I think I was stressing about a test. And in my head, I was like, oh, you shouldn't be here. And had I listened to that little ping, I'll call it, sure, maybe I wouldn't have injured my knee. But the knee injury led me to explore alternative means of therapy. So, allied health practitioners, whether it be physio, chiro, massage. I did traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture. There were so many things that I was able to explore. And in doing so, I found myself being like, hey, I could do this.
Yeah.
And so with that, I, eventually applied to school. I got in and found myself really loving it, knowing that I wanted to create something really special within my community. Years later, I then opened Kinetic, and here we are.
I
Yeah,
love
very
this.
quick summary. There's a lot more that
You're so
goes
succinct.
into it. Yeah.
I love it. Okay. I actually want to start by sharing a little bit about you and how we met,
Yes. Yes.
because like we need to share this
I
piece.
agree.
So Karen and I met in 2015, I think. I feel like when I started my full-time business, I was doing brand design and photography.
Mm-hmm.
And you hired me to do your branding photos. Yes. We did a branding shoot together.
We did.
And you have the same Instagram account you had then. It's for every Friday.
Yep.
And we're doing like a lot of influencing. And so I'd like to speak about this, like kind of how we met, because I feel like it's like a really interesting piece of the story and kind of where you've come from, because I remember that day you shared a dream and desire with me, and you've absolutely nailed it since then.
It's so wild when things come full circle. And honestly, I have to remind myself to keep dreaming. It's so easy to get lost in the mundane and the monotony of the day to day that we do as entrepreneurs. But yeah, back then in 2015, I think I had like super blonde hair, which was super fun. Was
it 2015, 2016 or 2017?
2016,
around there.
kind of around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm sure we could scroll back to Instagram to look at the exact photos. And I remember just instantly being connected. And I remember feeling at such ease. You may not know this, but that was actually my first branding shoot.
Oh, wow.
I had never done anything like that. I was aspiring to create a brand, a personal brand, and include all of the things that I loved. And I didn't really know how to use Instagram. I was late to the Instagram game. I literally got it in 2014. So maybe a year before. And, I'd post some stuffs and
stuffs and things.
But I started with posting inspiring words. So I would do a word and then I would do a caption. And the caption would usually indicate something that I was feeling or something that I was feeling called to talk about from the collective. And the collective being my community, the patients that I saw at the practice that I was currently working at. And yeah, my dream was to open a multidisciplinary health facility and create something just a little bit different. And what I mean by that is create these connections that were long lasting and lifelong, and create these spaces where people can come and move their bodies and share the love of sweat, I'll call it, with one another. So that was back then.
Okay. So let's talk about this. You created Kinetic.
I did.
Okay, tell us about
Yeah.
Kinetic. Like, where did that, well, now we know where it came from, but like, tell us a little bit more about like the build of that. When did it happen? How did that go? You know, what was it like? That just is it's a really big deal. She's created the most beautiful clinic, and I'll share more about my experience of that after.
Oh, thank you. Kinetic kind of started to happen. So I created, probably again that 2014 timeframe, I created a dream board. And the dream board on it included, car, it included a multidisciplinary health facility, it included a family I would co-create on my own. It included just some other like personal goals that I had of running and being sort of more self-aware and allowing myself to really work towards something and then just do it, for lack of a better explanation. And so after creating that dream board, what started to happen is these synchronicities from the universe. And it was anything from, one of my patients who's still a great friend today saying, Kara, why are you still here? And this was at my previous workspace. And I would answer that by saying, oh, well, I never see myself as this. Like, what do you mean? Why am I still here? And the people in my life at the time just magnetically came into my life, and each of them had a purpose to help me get to here. So I met someone who assisted me with branding, literally just through the community. I had a patient who, I'm chatting with her. I'm like, oh, what do you do? And she's like, oh, yeah, I do interior design. And I was like, what? Like, how is this happening? And so the universe was literally ushering me along to say, Kara, do the thing. Like, what are you waiting for? Do the thing. Yeah. And so Kinetic really was birthed out of that. It was birthed out of community, which is what it stands for today. And which is why I'm so much of a believer in that a community that you support supports you. And, to be able to survive a pandemic after opening only months before it happened is really, and I'll get emotional, it's a testament to the community.
Yeah, it's amazing. You've done such an amazing job. And so Kara reached out not long ago to invite me to guide meditation for an event that she was running. Can you just share a bit more about that? And then, because that's how we kind of circled back to each other.
Yeah. So I started yoga under the stars, and I always just wanted to do something like that. As a kid, I loved the stars. I loved anything having to do with outer space. Once YouTube was a thing, I would watch videos on black holes and, have deep conversations, 100%.
I love it.
Have deep conversations about time and how we quantify it and quarks and all of those things. Anyways, I wanted to do yoga in the Zeidler Dome at the Telus World of Science here in Edmonton. And I realized that every time I did it, people needed to have it happen in their lives. So I usually do it that first 2 weeks of December where things get a little bit stressful, whether you're a student prepping for exams, or perhaps maybe, things are coming up for you around the holidays, either positive or negative, where you're just in this messy hurricane-like emotive feeling. Mm-hmm. And so with it, we have a meditation, we have 3 yoga classes that happen, 3 meditations that are guided. And every year I am again called by the collective as to what the theme should be. And this year it was transformational change. From the conversations that I spoke with my patients, and even the things that I was experiencing, things were just sort of being shedded away. Whether it was identities, people, places, belief systems, things like that, they were just leaving people. I think to myself, and anything from sort of how I define who I am in my life to friendships to it literally was just the same. And so having us touch on that and people coming up to me and saying, oh my gosh, yeah, I absolutely loved this. Thank you, Kara. Can you do it again next year? Mm-hmm. is so meaningful, because even if it's just an hour of their time to create that change, that magnetism, that little spark is really cool. So that's yoga under the stars.
Yeah.
It's super fun.
Yeah, it was so much fun, and I was just so thrilled to be a part of it, and I feel like that's when we
Mhm.
got to circle back, and I think what happened was, like, you just sent out a newsletter,
Mhm.
and I saw it, and I just had a moment of, like, feeling back to, 2015 when we were dreaming together,
Mhm.
and you had shared all these things with me, and I was like, "She's killing it." Like, so I just how you have those feelings or
Yep.
thoughts and you normally don't say anything. So I just responded, "Hey, I just want to celebrate you. Like you've come so far, you're doing so much and I have seen you grown so much and I just want you to know like I see you." And yeah, so then she's like, "Oh my god, will you do the meditation?" And that was just like yeah, it was a beautiful evening. In fact, I feel like that the energy of that is still unfolding for me. I don't know about you, but
Yes,
there
it
has been
is.
so much change this year and so much transformation and things that I wasn't expecting. It feels like a definite deepening into what is possible. And I think,
Mhm.
um, I mean, I'm a dreamer as well. So it's so cool to be connected again and get to see. So at this event, Kara had her team there providing services
Yes.
um, and just meeting everyone and just seeing how connected you all are and seeing the respect and the care pardon the pun, the care
Yes,
um,
yes.
of you and your team and your community. And it's really, really magical. And I, again, just want to congratulate you for building this beautiful, beautiful community.
Thank you. Again, when I looked at the things that I always wanted to do, this was definitely one of them. And my heart is so happy when I get to see people experiencing these things.
Yeah.
And I love creating these experiences and I love sharing them with people. I do 3 events a year, and it's with the help of the team. So it's a yoga under the stars. Once that's done, I start planning an event called Ladies Who Brunch in support of the Stollery Children's Hospital Network. And then we do a beach volleyball event where we invite our community to play beach volleyball here in the Garneau, which is just next to Kinetic. And they're so fun because people come and they just get to be themselves. They're not, you know, coming in from an appointment from work and kind of feeling that stress, and they're just in that good energy. And I love all that gooey, good, gushy stuff.
I love it. I love it. So I feel like as leaders, we often end up creating what's missing in the world or what's missing for us. And
Mhm.
I feel like looking at the community that you have built, I'm wondering like how did you feel when you were younger? Like did you feel like you belonged or are you creating a place where others get to feel like they belong now? What was that piece for you, would you say?
Ooh, I definitely did not feel like I belonged. I sort of always felt that I was the odd person out. This is both from a racialized experience to a lived experience as a female to even now to this day as an entrepreneur. I don't know people who look like me or are me. And when I say army, oftentimes we find people that we can relate to in any space who do the things that I do. And when I wanted to create these spaces of movement to allow people to come and gather, yes, my sense of community as a younger child was largely cultural. And as we've gone on in society, and particularly as millennials, I think we find ourselves seeking out community more, whether it be, fitness trends. And I'll shout out Soul Cycle for sort of creating this idea of marrying fitness to church, likening
Mm,
fitness to church, where it's a place where people come and gather and they feel good and there's an energy in the room and it lifts everybody up, and they're as a motivational person who's delivering sort of a message to take home. And again, church, of course, is not a place; it's people, and that's what I've always believed. So for me, yeah, I think this creation of community is something that as leaders we need to continue to do, especially in a world that's advancing in technology where artificial intelligence is becoming the norm.
mhm.
Touch, communication, with a real person. And that energy that you feel between two people is just so different than what you could get anywhere else. And we've all experienced it, right? And there are things that we can't exactly explain. So something such as, we're in an elevator and someone walks in and you might not be paying attention and you're on your phone. You don't look up, so you don't see them. And there are no stereotypes that are brought into your head or places of judgment, but you feel a certain energy from that person. And so creating spaces where that, as I mentioned, good energy comes is paramount.
Love it. Okay, I'm being called to ask you something that you might not be prepared for, but it's good.
Oh, I'm ready.
Because I know in my mind, I was going through the Rolodex of amazing things I know you have accomplished. And I would like to take a few minutes just to celebrate your top 5 accomplishments, things that were dreams that you've smashed them.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd probably say the first one. Are we going personal, professional, business? Where do you want me to? The sky's the limit. Okay. So I'm going to say number 1 was, yes, taking the risk and opening Kinetic. That probably will be highly, highly up there. Realizing that I've never been an entrepreneur. Didn't really know what that would look like. Didn't really know what was around the corner, but took the risk anyway. Yeah. It was really gutsy. And kudos to entrepreneurs out there. It's a gutsy thing, and it's all on you.
Yeah. Kudos
when you take that risk. Yeah.
Kudos to you.
Thank you. Number 2 would actually be the completion of my Ironman that I did in 2022.
Yes. Okay. Oh my God, you guys, she's an Ironman.
Yeah. I'll never forget the moment where I was sitting down with some friends, and one friend, as I said, yeah, I'm going to do an Ironman. They kind of looked at me and they kind of said, do you know what that is? And I chuckled and I said, yeah, but in my head, I have always been someone who's no, if I want it bad enough, I will make it happen. And I think that's a mentality that can be both a good and a not so good thing. And we can definitely chat about that later. Yeah. Number 3 is stepping into a place of confidence. So most people wouldn't know this about me, and they would probably think otherwise. But as a child, I was not a public speaker. I would not put my hand up in class. We would go to, a swimming pool, even though I swam competitively. If I was going to a swimming pool with, friends, I would wear a giant big t-shirt over my body because I had back knee and I absolutely hated it. I always was kind of meek. And I know that now when my confidence is struggling or my self-esteem is struggling, because these are lifelong things that kind of happen, right? That I become that person. So I might speak a little bit more quiet. I might be more reserved. I might sit back on the wall and watch. But most would say that that's actually a negative thing. And I don't think it is. I think it's a superpower, and I've learned to embrace it as such, because leaders can lead quietly. Quiet leaders are the ones who lead from behind and they put their team first. And so that's kind of the way that I've navigated that.
Can I just repeat that? Quiet leaders are the ones who lead behind and put their team first. You get to be you in leadership. It doesn't have to be loud, dominant. That is so the old way. I feel the new era of leadership, I think, it really just is authentic. And so it's however that feels and works best for you and the people you're leading.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm on 4.
1, 2. So confidence 3. So 4.
Yeah.
4. If they're don't have to be giant either, whatever comes through.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think 4 is going to be, and it's hard because I feel like all of these are like this and they're not a list like this. They're kind of all like a circle, and I reach out for each of these circles. So 4 would probably be being comfortable with who I am in my own skin. So there's that self-confidence, kind of self-esteem piece. But now this is who I am. And I'm not going to change who I am for you. You're going to love me as I am. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, that's messy Kara when she's stressed, or Kara that needs that time away. So if you know me, there are moments in the day where I just need time to just, because
Mhm.
I'm always on and I give so much energy to everybody in my life.
Mhm.
Whereas before, I would probably, I'll say, continue to force myself to go through the motions to just feel valid.
Yeah.
So I'm in a space now, and this is still a work in progress, let me tell you, where my identity is not tied to what I do. I just am,
Mhm. Yeah.
right?
So it feels
Yeah.
like self-love. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wonder because, anyone listening, it's like so amazing to be in this place. But I know personally that to get to that place actually requires quite a lot of grit. It means that you've gone through a lot of contrast. Are
1000%.
you open to sharing about what got you to the place where you actually love yourself to the point that you demand it from those around you?
Yeah. I was in a place where when you look back, you kind of realize your energy attracts, your vibration attracts certain people, places, things. And when you realize that the energy, the vibes are off, as they say, but when you realize that you're in this low vibrational energy or coming from a place of lack and always worried about what's happening or maybe overthinking things, you attract that. Right. And hey, I'm not saying I'm perfect. There are moments where I definitely fall into the trap of thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Where am I going to, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to make this happen? And, I'll credit my mom for being that person who, and role model who really came from nothing, was made fun of in her school for how she smelled because they used well water from the farm to shower,
Mm.
to becoming a very inspiring businesswoman here in Edmonton. And so when I look to those moments, I have to remind myself, okay, can it be done? Yes. And how am I showing up in those moments to allow it to happen?
Mm.
So, I feel like I'm getting lost with words here, but one of the pivotal things that happened to me was I had been in a relationship where I wasn't respected in the way that I deserved. And it slowly, you don't expect it to happen, but it slowly chips away at you. And this person realizes how much energy that you have and how much of a ball of light you are. And they can't be outshone, or they can't understand it, or they can't fathom your successes, your positivity, your light, that they start to then continue to dim it.
And take you down
And
a little.
so,
Mhm.
absolutely. And so then what happens is you kind of revert back to this chaos of weird sort of feelings about yourself. And in those moments, you really have to dig deep to say, okay, no, these are falsehoods that I tell about myself. And I'm so much better than that. So,
Mm.
that was one of them. Another one is making the decision to, leave a relationship that, while it's great or everything's copacetic, but you're just not feeling fulfilled in the ways from a growth perspective that you would like to see in your life.
Mm.
Right. And I find that people can, in relationships, can grow together. And these are, friendships or intimate relationships, or they can, of course, grow apart. But that growth together should be, I support you, you support me. And then it should be intertwined as well.
Mhm.
Right. So it's individual and then intertwined growth. So a lot of the realization of, no, like, here I am, accept me for me,
Yeah.
comes from those experiences that weren't the greatest.
Where you were essentially forced to claim your own power.
1000%.
And I love this. Thank you for sharing so openly because I feel like that's really tricky. And for anyone listening who is maybe in a toxic relationship or in a
Yep.
relationship that is just no longer aligned, like to me, you're brave.
Mm.
And may Kara's story inspire you to know that like moving through that, I think of, the contrast we experience as fires. And it's
Yep.
like knowing that you can walk through that fire and then, using you as inspiration for like what you get to reclaim on the other side. On the other side lives confidence. On the other side
Exactly.
lives like a level of self-love where you
Yep.
just simply do not allow for people who don't appreciate you into your life any longer. Yeah.
It's so true. And you kind of realize as well that when you start to raise your vibration in that way, and it's not a, oh, I'm cocky, or oh, I'm this. It's, I'm confident in just being. But when
Yeah.
you raise that vibration, again, the universe really welcomes you with people in your life who are right there beside you, vibing high.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
yeah,
Kinetic. I love this.
exactly.
Okay. And I love that it's like, so, when we take the lid off of it, doesn't have to be professional or career. Like the new way of leadership for me also is not just like career focused or business. It's actually everything. We can't actually draw
No,
lines between things any longer.
no.
So like your level of confidence and self-love absolutely impacts your
Mhm.
business. And I'm sure that you can see that in the business as
Oh,
well.
1000%. So
Yes.
when you as a leader are not showing up for yourself, that energy, that frantic energy that you may have, it oozes to the team, right?
Yeah.
And vice versa. I now, from an intuitive standpoint, if someone is kind of just off, maybe vibrating a little bit lower, well, they don't have to tell me exactly what may be going on in their life. I'll do check in, and we have check ins that happen quarterly, or I'll just schedule a meeting and say, hey, you know what? I've noticed that you're just kind of feeling, you're feeling a little bit down, like what's going on.
Mm.
Whereas before it was, don't talk about feelings at work. You are to leave all of your shit at home,
Yes.
any emotional, any personal shits at home, but
Yeah.
that affects what you do, right? And
Yes.
especially in our line of work where we touch people for a living and give them, and our energy, like touch transfers that energy,
Yeah.
right? You can't, you have to learn how to work with it, how to mold it, how to move it. And it starts with those conversations and creating space to allow people to feel safe to talk about feelings.
Yeah, I love that. So, I mean, like now we're in my realm and I love it so much. I feel like
Yeah.
also it's being accountable to ourselves and each other around how we're actually feeling. Like, this is
Yeah.
why I'm so excited to bring the joy method and the joy work into companies and teams, is because like we can no longer actually silo our feelings,
Yeah.
because what is going on in all aspects of your life is actually a piece of the energy that you're bringing. So I feel like the more that we're able to handle it, the more we have leaders like you who are willing to bring compassion and empathy to the table, the better.
Mhm.
I love it. You're such an inspiration, Kara.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't come without its trials and tribulations,
Yeah. I mean, you
but
learned it through contrast, right?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's number five? Number five, celebration.
So, yeah, number five is something that I never, and then when I say I never imagined myself as, it's, I always wanted to do it. I just didn't know how it could organically happen. And it kind of is in a realm of this idea of give back. And the give back is whether it's from my time, energy, and efforts to the community, whether it's mentorship, whether it's, being that big sister or really good friend, the give back in a space where I can come from, experience and help people have a better understanding of their lived experience has been something that I've been wanting to lean into and step into more and more of. And so, I'm going to call in, and I've been saying more and more of this, an opportunity like this, right?
Mm.
To share my story, to inspire others, and kind of give that back. When I look to my mentors, they didn't come to me until later in life, when I started to actually put myself out there. And the more that I put myself out there, what I mean by that is making an actual effort to connect more than the superficial,
Yeah.
and being vulnerable, because I was so fearful of being judged.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this give back piece, but it's a give back in through vulnerability.
I love it. And if I
Yeah.
were to describe that energy that I experience in you, it would be generosity.
Yeah.
Yeah, generosity, very beautiful, open, generous heart, always giving, and I love that. And I'm curious. So I celebrate you, all those amazing things, and I love again that some of them were physical, some of them were more energetic, some of
Mhm.
them were business related and more personal related. So can we talk about the shadow side of joy a little bit? I would love
Yep.
to know kind of like what were the pivotal points that, and we've kind of covered some of them, but anything that's sticking out in terms of a place where at the time it did not feel good. Like it was painful. And now you've either reclaimed power on it or you can see it in a different light.
I think that there's this idea of kind of this roller coaster wave that we're continuously riding as entrepreneurs. And I think you know that. It's sometimes when you're in those low of the lows, when you experience immense sacrifice and you kind of sit there wondering, was this worth it all? You have to realize that you're being called to a plan. And you, as a creator of your own destiny, can create the plan and navigate it and co-create with the universe, right? And so in those shadow moments, as you mentioned, I normally would go and busy myself. So it would be escapism, immense travel. It would be, running for extensive periods, riding my bike for extensive periods. And to some extent, as much as Ironman is celebrated, Ironman was also a moment where I had to really take back my life, right? And put myself first. So anything from, sorry, I can't stay late today because I have to go train, or to, hey, you know what? I really want to hang out with you guys, but you are drinking and I am just not into that right now because I have to ride for 6 hours tomorrow. It allowed me to really see who is supportive, who's not supportive, and what that potentially could look like in the long run.
So yeah. I feel like we need to have you back on to talk just about Ironman if you're down.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Like I can sense there's so many lessons in that experience. And I love when I'm like, tell me your pain story. And you're like Ironman, where most people would be like, that's like the highlight. But I love how you're like, actually that required like so much. I'm sensing like grit and persistence and friggin' commitment and like discipline, and probably was really painful. And allowed you to experience this personal feat, like have the victory of it, and also like what that truly meant. Like, I think let's have a whole separate call on this.
Yeah. Anything from moments where I realized who was willing to show up for me and who was really cheering me on. Because as you pull your energy on towards yourself, it means you have to remove it from others. Yeah. And those who are energy takers are going to be like, what are you doing? This is not a good thing. Like what's happening? Right. And it was very reflective. There's some loneliness that went along with it as well. Right. People would wonder, do you listen to music when you're out there riding all afternoon? And I'm like, no, it's me and my thoughts. And for the first time, I literally had to be alone with them, and I couldn't distract myself by taking on another project or doing something else. So it was a transition to then allow me to sit in and what I call is the ick, right? And I now, while I'm not riding and my knee is injured again, I am, sitting with the ick in a different way. And had I not done that in Ironman, this would have been even more challenging for me now.
Okay, so two big things that are sticking out to me right now are, one, that your dreams require you to make yourself a priority, and being such a giver, a helper, a healer, and someone who typically serves others. This can be really tricky because we often set up our lives and the people around us to, understand us as being the ones who are going to make them a priority. So I think that's really important to share, is like when you've got a big dream or desire, or even just a dream and desire, or an experience that you want for yourself, like we need to actually prioritize ourselves and surround ourselves with people who also make us just as important as them. So like, it feels like reciprocal relationships are really important for dream building and getting it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, there are places where you want to give without receiving, but you can't continuously just give. And then nothing sort of comes of it, right?
Yeah, it's imbalance. It's not the way it's meant to go. And that's how we end up in burnout and depletion and injured all the things. So, and then the next piece is your injury. So, I mean, you did the Ironman. We clearly know that you're an ambitious, like badass woman. Tell us about the knee injury and kind of what that experience has been like for you, and where are you at with it now?
The one thing that I love doing is running and moving my body and really creating this celebrating life in that way. And with injuring my knee, I was on crutches for 2 months this past summer, and I again had to sit in the ick. And this was probably the first time where I realized, because I couldn't show up for people in the same way that I did previously, I realized what connections I was fostering that were authentic and specifically authentic to me. And I also realized some of the work that I still needed to do surrounding identity. And oftentimes, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast today, we define identity by doing. And it's so easy to do because...
Anyone else out there identify with doing?
Exactly. Right. Because in the culture of capitalism that we live in, doing equates often success. Right. And so I've been really working in this past year to just be comfortable with being. And the injury has allowed me to sort of pivot my thoughts surrounding that. And I'll have to say it has not been easy. Again, moments of loneliness, moments of doubt, moments of fear of not knowing, because I can't actually plan for the things that I'm wanting to call in right now. And that's, co-creating a family with my partner. That's, taking a step back as an entrepreneur and working more on the business than in the business, because I just have to sort of allow things to happen. And so, of course, I'm rehabbing my knee. I'm in a great place to do it. I'm doing all the things necessary from a physical standpoint. But when I look at the energetics of it as a whole, the universe was talking to me way back when I injured my knee for the first time. And I was able to call in my career. I was able to sit at the time and realize these are the things I want. And so the universe is doing it again, and I'm listening. And saying, hey, Kara, you already did the thing. You did an Ironman. That was super fun. And now it's time for you to call in these next 10 years, next 20 years of your life. And it's going to look different. And my identity is going to shift. So there's this letting go almost of my previous self so that I can create this new chapter of what Kara is going to look like. And again, as I mentioned, I'm so used to the doing part. And now I have to
allow,
receive. You got it.
Surrender.
Let
all the big ones. Oofda.
Yeah.
In Norwegian, that means whoa.
Yeah. Oofda. I like it.
Yeah. I just really want to celebrate you in your ability to sit in the discomfort and to allow for what needs to come through. Talk about transformational change.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it's, right now it sounds like you're in the hallway, which we all have those moments where you're not sure what's next and you want things, but it just really requires patience and trust. And I'm celebrating you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think patience, trust, and an understanding of knowing that it will happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And also you're inspiring others, like what happens when life doesn't go the way you want it? What happens when you're friggin', athlete, Ironman, and you blow your knee and can't do the things that you do that you identify with? Like, I think this is a really important question for all of us to sit with. Like, who would I be if I wasn't who I thought? Everything that I thought I was, like, who am I actually? And it's a really beautiful inquiry into what really matters, who you truly are at the deepest level, which I believe is joy, obviously.
Yes.
So on that note, would love to know what is feeling joyful right now?
For me, probably the biggest piece of joy that I experience is living life through my niece's eyes. And there's something about children that is just so special. And we've got such a wonderful connection. And she reminds me it's okay to play. Adults can still play. She reminds me that it's okay to be quirky. And she reminds me of the things that I think as adults we suppress in our childlike selves. So yeah, that is the joy, that feeling of embracing again my inner child.
Yeah, presence, childlike play, all of it. I love that. I love it. Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you for being here. I feel like we're wrapping up today, but I would love to have you back on to talk about the Ironman. I feel like there's like
Absolutely.
so many lessons and so much inspiration in that story. So would absolutely love to have you back. I also, it feels really important to share when I reconnected with Dr. Kara at Yoga in the Stars, I wasn't feeling very well. I've been, working out for the past 8, I don't even know how long. My body was in extreme pain. So Kara got me in right away. And I've never experienced care like what I experienced with you. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, it was really painful and uncomfortable.
That happens
And
sometimes. That
like
happens sometimes.
but you helped me. It was like I actually felt so much better, more quickly than I've ever experienced. And I seek out wellness support all the time. It was the next level, your level of knowledge, your level of care, your ability to be like, yeah, this is what we got to do to get you to where you want to be. And 1 week later, I felt like 100% better. I brought
Amazing.
my, mom-in-law to you who is having knee issues, who just friggin' loves you so much. I recommend I recommend Kinetic and Kara and her team so deeply from such a place of just inner knowing of like how amazing all of you are, that I would say if you need anything, if you're seeking wellness, if you want to be surrounded by people who truly care, I would reach out and book in for sure. So
Thank you.
thanks for being you, Kara. You absolutely
Thank you for
inspire
having
me.
me.
I
Yeah,
friggin' love you. I'm so glad we're reconnected,
me too.
and I can't wait to speak with you again soon.
Yes, I am
Yeah.
very much looking forward to the joy journey along your side. Thank you.